universal presence, which we call spirit. Fundamental to this truth is the unifying nature of all religious thought and experience, which we honor here today. So as Tom lights the first candle, we light the candle for the Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony, equilibrium, the natural way. We light the second candle for the shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous people, the way of primal spirituality. We light a candle for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. We light a candle for Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. We light a candle for all forms of Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. We light a candle for all forms of Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. We light a candle for all forms of Islam, honoring the path of submission to the will of God for the highest calling. We light a candle for the universalistic religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and of peace. And of course, not to be left out, we light a candle for all forms of New Thought, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. And the last candle that we light a candle for all those who are yet unaware of the power and the presence of spirit in their lives, and for the space we are holding for them in this center, and for all religions unnamed in this ceremony. Well, this Father's Day, I had a new thought. I thought that I would like to deviate away from, not to dismiss or discount the men in here and in our lives, but I was thinking of the fathers of New Thought, and I thought, even though most of you have gone through new membership, you've heard about both of them. So we're stepping away from traditional history lessons to explore the captivating real-life stories of two men who earned the title Father of New Thought. So we'll journey into the lives of Phineas Parkhurst Quimby, a practical clockmaker who unlocked the secret minds of mind-body healing, and Ralph Waldo Emerson, a rebellious minister who challenged the status quo to champion the divine power dwelling inside of us, far from the dry facts of life. They were both filled with radical choices, sudden healings, and ideas so bold that they were banned from elite universities. Sounds like New Thought people to me, doesn't it? So through their unique life adventures, we will discover how the two visionary thinkers shifted the spiritual landscape of America forever. Instead of passing down strict rules, they gifted us a legacy of spiritual self-reliance and inner wisdom. Today we celebrate Father's Day by looking at these two distinct men who earned the title Father of New Thought. The practical father, Phineas Parkhurst Quimby, 1802 to 1866, a clock master who mastered mechanics of human belief. See, we can do anything we want. It doesn't matter where we start. The intellectual father, Ralph Waldo Emerson, 1803 to 1882, a rebellious minister who became America's premier philosopher. Both men broke away from the puritanical doctrines to prove that the divine is not distance and not a judge, but an immediate power dwelling right inside of us. Phineas Quimby, the healer cured by a horse ride, all of the stories of how these great teachers went in are so interesting to me. So before Quimby became a legendary healer who treated over 12,000 patients, he was dying of tuberculosis. Conventional medicine failed him, and a local doctor told him to prepare for death. Desperate, Quimby decided to go out on one last carriage ride. His horse became stubborn and refused to climb a hill. Suddenly, a surge of adrenaline hit Quimby. He jumped out, took the horse by the reins, and aggressively led it up to the slope himself. When he sat back down, he realized something shocking. His severe chest pain, coughing, and suffocating exhaustion were completely gone. The lesson is Quimby realized his body hasn't physically altered in those 5 minutes. His mind shifted from passing from dying to active living. Interesting. This led to the ultimate discovery. Disease is the misery of our belief. Happiness is the health of our wisdom. Quimby was absolutely able to intuitively perceive exactly where the patient's body needed healing, a process developed through early experience in his mesmerism. Quimby transitioned from using hypnosis to a pure form of mind cure. He realized that goodness gracious, I put my teeth in straight today. He realized that illness is a physical manifestation of the erroneous belief held in mind. In the late 1830s, Quimby toured New England with a young clairvoyant named Lucas Buckmore. While hypnotized, Buckmore could look inside a patient's body, pinpoint disease organs, and describe remedies. However, Quimby noticed two critical anomalies there that changed his life. The placebo effect. Buckmore would sometimes prescribe completely useless simple herbs, yet the patients were still miraculously cured. Mind-to-mind transfer. Quimby realized Buckmore wasn't actually seeing physical disease. He was reading the patient's own mind and reflecting back what the patient or their doctor believed what was wrong. This led Quimby to abandon hypnotism entirely. He discovered that he had developed his own highly sensitive telepathic and intuitive ability. While sitting with a patient, Quimby would physically absorb and feel the patient's exact aches and pains in their body. By tracking where the pain manifested in his own body, he knew precisely where the patient was suffering. Realizing healing was of mine, again, Quimby conducted the disease is a misery of our beliefs. Wow. A lot to think about with that, as with Myrtle and also Charles Fillmore. He reasoned that he reasoned that doctors and religious leaders terrified people into believing they were sick. That's something to think about. This fear then condensed into physical matter, creating actual body disease. Because he believed the physical body was just an unintelligent reflection governed by the mind, he recognized then that changing the mind would rewrite the body. Once Quimby intuitively located the pain underlying mental error, he used non-medical approach to cure them. Quimby would sit opposite a patient, hold their hands, and silently use their own mind to detach from the absorbed pain, tracing it back to the patient's false belief. Right? He would talk to the patient and logically explain how their fear or false belief was causing the physical symptoms. He compared illness, this is interesting, he compared illness to dirt on a person's face. The trouble isn't the dirt, it's the person's reaction to it. Kind of funny, right, when you think about that. Though he maintained that physical touch had no actual healing power, he would sometimes rub a patient's head or limbs with water because patients found it was hard to believe that mere talk could cure them. So through his mind cure method, then, Quimby treated thousands of people, heavily influencing figures like Mary Baker Eddy, the founder of Christian Science. And those of you that, well, most of you did, go through your classes, if you remember, I told you that Mary Baker Eddy actually tried to claim that some of Quimby's work was hers, and it ended up that the Quimby Foundation sued her, and she had to restate her belief system and take out that which she had borrowed from Quimby. So that's the story of Phineas Parkhurst Quimby in condensed form, of course. And then Ralph Waldo Emerson, the speech that banned him from Harvard. In July 1838, Emerson was invited to deliver the graduation address to Harvard Divinity School. The professors expected traditional, polite sermon. Instead, Emerson dropped a theological bomb. He told the graduating ministers that traditional church preaching was dead and dry, mocked the focus of external miracles, and stated that regular human beings hold the same exact divine status as Jesus. He told them to stop looking at old books, scriptures, and look inward. The backlash was so fierce that Harvard effectively banned Emerson from speaking on campus for nearly 30 years. Yet this bold stance birthed the spiritual but not religious movement in America. Spiritual but not religious movement in America. It proved that you don't need a middleman. You can connect with the divine directly on your own terms. Your spiritual journey belongs entirely to you. Emerson's self-reliance essay, 1841, which happens to be my most favorite, and I have done talks on that, is the ultimate manifesto of individualism, personal responsibility, and trusting your inner voice. As the leader of transcendentalist movement, Emerson argued that every person possesses a divine spark, meaning you do not need external institutions, social approval, or religious authorities to guide your life. Well, I'm not a religious authority, but I do have some guidance there, just in case. Core themes of self-reliance, trust yourself. Trust yourself. How much times do we talk about that in so many different ways? Trust thyself. This is the foundational command of this essay. Trust yourself. Emerson believed that your deepest and personal convictions are universally true for everyone. Then he talked about the danger of conformity. Social acts as joint stock company conspiring against the manhood and independence of its members. Emerson demand that you resist peer pressure and social expectations. And one of my favorites, Emerson wrote, "A foolish consistency is the hobgoblin of the little minds." A foolish consistency is the hobgoblin of little minds. He urged people to speak. This, I will tell you, okay, first of all, Emerson's essays was my first class that I ever took, just on a whim. I wasn't anywhere near going to be a minister. That was my first class. And this next phrase is what just took me by surprise. He urged people to speak what they think today in hard words, and tomorrow speak what tomorrow thinks in hard words again, even if it contradicts everything they said before. And how many times has this happened? So at age 20, you have this belief. And then by the time you're 30, your beliefs change. And someone will say, well, that's not what you always said. Well, no, because that was 20, and now I'm 30. And then now here we are 50, and we have a completely different belief system than before because we have experiences and life touches us. So of course, he says, he urges people to speak what they think today in hard words, and tomorrow speak what tomorrow thinks in hard words again, even if it contradicts everything they said before. Makes sense, right? You're allowed to change your mind. You don't have to be stuck in this one container for the rest of your life. So the connection to Quimby and mind cure is Emerson's essay provided the intellectual and philosophical background for New Thought, movement that Phineas Quimby helped spark. And Emerson was one of the catalysts for Ernest Holmes in religious science because he would never say anything that he didn't believe, that he didn't have something to back it. And so Thomas Trord, which was, we're not going to talk about him right now, but he gave what's his name? Emerson, no, he gave the other guy. Holmes, thank you. He gave him the logic of understanding that everything has life. Even a rock has life in it. A rock breathes. And so, but then when he started reading Emerson, that gave him the nature and the naturalness of it. And when he could take the Bible and Jesus and Thomas Trord and then Emerson and put it together, he had all he needed to speak and know that he had proof of everything he was saying. So another dynamic man, but just wanted to share that with you. So both Emerson and Quimby shared a fundamental belief. The answer to life, health, truth comes from your own consciousness. Oh darn, here we go again. New Thought wants us to be responsible for our thoughts. Darn. The answer to life, truth, comes from your own consciousness, not from external society that dictates to you, right? Why are Christian churches fuller than we are? Because someone tells them what to think and what to do, what's allowed and what's not allowed. We don't do that here. We don't do that. We understand that we have our own thoughts, our own mind. So how are these two guys alike? I call it the DNA of New Thought, right? Both rejected original sin. They believe that God is immediate, energetic, present, operating right inside the human mind. Everything is from within. Both taught that the universe operates on cause and effect spiritual laws that can be tested and proven. They both rejected authority, oh my God. Both urged people to trust their own intuition and lived experience over religious institution and creeds. Well, how did they differ then? Hands versus head. Quimby developed his ideas in a clinic, working directly with the sick, paralyzed, and depressed. Emerson developed his ideas in nature, academic circles, writing essays for intellectuals. In his book, if you ever want to read a great book, read the book of Emerson's life. I am so jealous. These intellectual brains, I guess they must have had money because they would move every 3 months to another estate and they could sit around and talk and philosophize. And I guess someone was cooking in the kitchen, I don't know. But it was really, in this summer they were in one place and in the winter they were in another place. Can you imagine just, okay, where are we going for the next 3 months? And just bring our mind with us? Oh my God, every time when I used to read that, I'd be, I'm jealous of that. I want to do that someday. So Quimby focused heavily, obviously, on physical health, proving that changing your thoughts alters your biology. Changing your thoughts alters your biology. Emerson focused heavily on mental freedom. Mental freedom. and character, providing that trusting yourself aligns you with the universe. Quimby never cared about money, fame, or starting a religion. He just wanted to help the common man. Emerson became international literary superstar, influencing later New Thought icons like Charles Fillmore, Myrtle Fillmore, Unity, Ernest Holmes, founder of Science of Mind. So, well, we're going to be done early today. I could keep talking. A traditional father provides rules, structures, and inheritance, perhaps. But Phineas Quimby and Ralph Waldo Emerson act as the father of New Thought because they gave us something better, spiritual self-reliance. They taught us that our ultimate inheritance isn't something handed down by an outside authority. It is the divine creative power already waking up inside of our own minds. Everything is about going within. We talked about that last week. Step back, go to center, go to first cause, go to God, go to whatever you call that which brings you peace. So they taught us then that ultimate inheritance isn't something handed down by authority. So in this Father's Day then, we honor our fathers in the male examples in our life by trusting inner wisdom, standing tall in our own spiritual powder.